Well, we really enjoy studying history here at WallBuilders. In fact, we encourage people, study history, read some original documents, know history for yourself. One of the places that's worked to promote history, in fact, one of the biggest museums around, the Smithsonian up in DC, they really work to try to promote history.
Oh man, that's a monster museum. I mean, they got so many buildings. They've got the Air and Space Museum and the American History Museum, and they've got the Natural Science Museum. And
well, that's kind of like the Natural Evolution Museum. Science might be a little, it's one of the things too, when you look at history, is sometimes people have a little slant on their perspective.
Are you suggesting they have an agenda?
If this was news, we might call it fake news. This might not be the most accurate take on things, but Smithsonian for sure, they do a lot with history. In fact, they just opened a new museum, the African American Museum of History, and this is something that for generations we've lost so much history. In fact, black heroes that we used to know about in history, today we don't know much about, and they've worked to kind of reclaim that. But when I was there a few months ago, there were a few things I saw and I thought, I'm not sure about this. One of the things that they said in this museum is there was no white man who was against slavery until the 1820s.
Ooh, time out. How about the Pilgrims? I think they were pretty white.
Check, white people against slavery.
Puritans. They got the Puritans.
Check, white people against slavery.
Quakers. Let's go for the Quakers.
Check, white people against slavery.
Oh, a whole bunch of the Founding Fathers, they were white too.
Well, what's interesting about this is for all the things we could focus on, they tended to say some negative things, and certainly not that there haven't been negative things in history, but if this is to focus on some heroes, one of the heroes they ought to be focusing on is this guy right here.
This is Lemuel Haynes, huge black hero. You should know about Lemuel Haynes.
Well, and this actually is a Bible from Lemuel Haynes. It's got a signature right here in the front, but he was a really significant black hero from early America.
He's a famous preacher, and by the way, he is the first black man to receive a degree of higher education in the United States, which makes it worth talking about. That's a real first. He's also a black man that started churches all over New England, Vermont particularly, and he was often the black man who pastored a white church in those eras.
So not only is he a pastor, he's pastoring white churches?
In that era when we're told they're all racist and
that
bigots.
Barely happens today, but we're talking about back again. Yeah, I mean, that's racism and segregation. Slavery's going on.
And he even pastored mixed churches where the blacks and whites went to church together.
Wow.
And on top of that, he also fought in the American Revolution. He was one of the Minutemen, and he fought under George Washington. And in his churches, every year on George Washington's birthday, he would preach a special sermon on George Washington, his commander-in-chief.
Wow.
He's also the first black man to have a sermon printed, signed by the author.
The first ever sermon by a black African-American pastor, and this is it.
You would think you'd want to talk about a guy who did all these first, but yet we just want to talk about things about the mistreatment and abuse.
Well, so to that end, if you want to know some incredible black heroes, Lemuel Haynes is the guy you might want to check out.
Yeah.